Welcome to the Purpose to Create podcast with Natasha Wright, a business podcast for photographers and creativepreneurs who want to level up as they pursue their purpose to create. Lean in as we connect, inspire, and impact you as you build and grow your business.
I'm so hyped that you're here and listening to today's show. Today's guest is LaJoy Cox, an Atlanta-based photographer, a mom, an entrepreneur, a published wedding and portrait photographer, and most recently, a Netflix photographer for Love is Blind. In today's episode, we're chatting all about how to maintain your business in the midst of a crisis. Hey, LaJoy, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm happy to have you here. I'm super excited. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So like you said, I've been in business for, I want to say 8, I'm going on 9 years now. And for the last 5 years, I have been full-time. I am based in the Atlanta, Georgia area, but we travel pretty much everywhere. So I'm loving the fact that I'm able to go to different states each and every month and just, shoot weddings. I shoot portrait sessions, big sessions for families, all kind of crazy stuff. I have 3 amazing, crazy little kids. And right now, being, stuck at home with them, we're doing the homeschooling thing and everything's working out great there. We are also, I'm also an owner of my second company as well. So I have a sister company that only handles weddings because now recently I've been going into shooting more branding sessions. So I'm just, building my businesses and, doing the best I can in order to employ people for the second company, as well as run LaJoy Photography the way I have always envisioned it.
Oh, wow. So tell me a little bit more about your second business. So you have LaJoy, but then you expanded. So tell me a little bit more about that.
So I used to have a lot of brides that would reach out to me and ask me to shoot weddings on days that I was already booked, or they would tell me I was outside of their price range. So I went on ahead and I created my second company, which is called The First Look Photography, kind of like, the first look at a wedding. And I created that in order to hire other photographers to shoot weddings for me. And then I handle everything on the back end. So I handle the booking, I handle the anything as far as, like the edits or getting the, what's the word I'm looking for? Getting the album created at the end so that they can access their photos online. I didn't want to miss out on that, I guess that price point for those brides. And at the same time, I also wanted them to have really great photos. So if they still decided, that's not the route I want to go, I want to know my photographer personally, then at that point, I go ahead and refer other photographers to those brides.
Okay. And so I know you mentioned you're home with the kiddos, and we all know what's going on in the world right now. And so we're going to jump right into today's topic, which is maintaining your business in the midst of a crisis, which includes you being a full-time entrepreneur, full-time mama, and really navigating this season that we're in, these uncertain times. And so I thought it was really important to have a conversation with someone who has been, pretty much impacted by the pandemic that we're in right now. We've never been in this season before, so we're all going through this at different phases and levels and things of that nature. And I wanted to get your insight really about how you're maintaining your business in the midst of a crisis and having to have your kids home and homeschool them essentially while you're still trying to keep your business afloat.
Well, after the COVID-19 happened, I immediately, the day that I could pull my kids out of school, because I wanted to make sure, we're safe, first and foremost, I immediately pulled them out of school. I went shopping. I got everything set up that I needed because I knew we would be here for a little while. And I just had to get a schedule for them. So I had them set up to do work, not immediately when school is supposed to start, because that's typically my time to answer emails, phone calls, go through anything that I need to as far as clients, send out, online albums, And I pretty much just went on ahead as far as business as usual. And around the time that I would normally take like a lunch break or something, I would then eat while working with my daughter on her schoolwork, put my youngest up to the table and let him do something completely different. Also have the kids working with each other so that they're still getting that um, interaction with each other. And kids tend to learn a whole lot more and a whole lot better from their siblings than they do their parents. So my daughter, she's my middle child. She is like, second mom. She teaches my youngest how to do a lot of stuff. Like, no, we're going to tie our shoes like this. And she's helping him with that. As far as business goes, I was able to really sit down, look at everything all the payments that I have coming in for the next few months, realistically understand that at least half of those payments are not going to happen because of the COVID crisis. And when dealing with any crisis, that's going to be the case. And not feel like my business is going to fall apart and I'm going to be struggling at the end of this.
And what are some things that, prior to COVID, did you have anything saved up, or how did you prepare for this? And you can never really prepare for a crisis because it just happened, but were there things that you were doing in your business, or are there things that you wish you would have done prior to the crisis to help you better be prepared for such a time as this?
I honestly wish I would have had so much more saved up. I wish I would have really sat down and, was able to put in a whole lot more money into my savings account. I did have a little bit saved, and I've even, like, my brother works in the restaurant industry, and I had to I ended up helping him out, sending him a little bit of money to make sure he was okay. He completely, lost all of his hours, even though he's managing, and it was just crazy. His job was on the news, employees not getting paid. And I really just, I saved a little bit to myself. And then I also, I split my payments up throughout the year anyway, to where whether I leave the house, if I only leave the house 7 months out of the year to go and shoot a wedding, I get a payment every single month. I get some form of payment from some clients that is going to amount to the income that I'm used to getting, that I'm used to living off of. So I think that's where a lot of photographers and business owners don't understand. You might have, the want to have, okay, I want them to do 50% down and then 50% right before the wedding date. However, if they don't do that next 50% until right before the wedding day, you're kind of stuck for all those months in between.
Right.
So my payments are 25%. They split 4 payments. So if I have a wedding that's $4,000, that first payment's coming in immediately. That next payment, I'm going to look at my calendar and say, okay, I got 5 payments coming in this month. There's only 3 coming in this month. Let me have them pay this second payment this month because I know I'm going to need it. And then I'll roll over to the next month and I'll see, okay, I'm going to give them 2 months of no payments and then put the next payment here. And I speak with my clients and let them know, like, are you okay with this payment schedule? And usually they're like, sure, we'll go ahead and go with this. Or they'll say, oh, well, can we switch it to this date? But giving myself the opportunity to have payments coming in all year long, I don't have to worry about my crazy shopping habit because I believe everybody has one. You splurge on something. And I'm not sitting like, oh, I can't touch any of that money because this has to last me until this date. So,
right. No, I really like that approach of doing the what seems to be like quarterly payments from each client, where you have this staggered approach where you're always getting some money in versus the 50 up front and then 30 days before, because then I've been hearing so many just heartbreaking stories of photographers right now who are either losing out on money because the last payment was either this month or next month or, coming up, and
those clients can't do those payments. That's half of your income and it's gone just like that. It's a whole lot easier for them to make smaller payments too. So
Right.
$1,000 as opposed to $2,000, they're more likely to send you at least 500 and, try and split that 1,000 up than say, oh yeah, sure, I can send you the whole 2,000 during this crisis. So.
And how have your clients, without getting into any details, of course, but how have your clients been doing during this time? And have you had any cancellations, postponements, anything moved to 2020? How has that whole transition been happening for you and your clients?
The month of January, February, and March, I didn't have a single wedding. I was actually focusing on my branding shoots and building that. Now, when branding shoots happen, I do charge and I require them to pay the full amount at once. So the beginning of the year was perfect. I just knew I was going to get a break until April. When this hit, every single wedding I had scheduled for April had to be pushed back because for my safety, for my staff's safety, for my clients, we can't just go to a wedding now. It's really not safe for anyone. And I believe people are starting to get fined if you're out of the house for unnecessary reasons and you're in large gatherings. That's something you can't, chance either. So all of those April weddings ended up rescheduling for the end of this year, and I had two switch to a 2021 date. Now, I did have one bride who was just like, she's really upset. She's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I still want to get married this month. And she's not really understanding that I get that you're really excited about getting married, but you have to understand that your safety, the fact that you want to be alive, you want your guests to be alive after, is way more important than keeping a specific wedding date.
Right, exactly. And I feel where they're coming from because they've really been planning for this for years, and then it's kind of like, wait, I'm not going to let anything stop me from doing it. But it has the pandemic has exponentially have just flipped our world upside down, and it's really hard to really process, like, is this really happening? Like, this has impacted every industry possible, and it's unbelievable. And the fact that brides really have to go through this and really have to put their plans on hold is heartbreaking, but also really being able to reassure them, like, your safety matters, my safety matters. So I get what you're saying, but we can't move forward with this. And, it's hard to tell a bride, hey, you're going to have to really be okay with this.
I have to be safe. Like, you have to understand that I can't put myself in danger because then all of my other brides suffer.
Right, exactly. And, I've been hearing a lot about contracts, and I know a lot of photographers are a little bit, on edge about the contracts that are in place and things like that. So I want to talk to you about your contracts that you had in place to be able to help you move, not from a legal perspective, but just being able to easily move your clients to new dates and things like that. I've been hearing a lot of stories about, now that this crisis has happened, people moving to dates and some people now not being available. And so I wanted to know from your perspective, having a solid contract in place, which is something all photographers should have in place. And if you don't, I urge you to connect with a legal professional who specializes in contracts for photographers, so that if you found yourself in a situation during this season that you were not prepared for, that you can start to prepare yourself in the future for things, because things will happen in business. We don't know to what impact, but you really need to have those safeguards in place. So that is like super important. But I wanted to ask you from your perspective about contracts that you had in place. And I know early on, starting in wedding photography, I've done some weddings with no contracts, and
contracts were horrible.
Contracts are horrible, right? And so knowing what we know now about being wedding photographers and in the industry, were there some things that you had in your contract that you were like, I'm never going to use this, like force majeure, like, it's one of those things that, you really don't think that you would really have to use, but
I do have a part of my contract that covers me for the COVID-19 and for any other crisis or natural act of God, something that we can't help. And I didn't have that in my contract before. And I ran into issues where my brides and, my clients could pretty much just do whatever they wanted. The contract covered my payments. And I thought that, that being the most important thing, I didn't really care about anything else in the beginning. It was just, I want to get paid. And now I understand that there's everything else is way more important than just receiving that paycheck. So I really worked on my contract and got it to the point where I am able to, go through my honey book and let them know, like, okay, we're going to move this date. Here is the updated contract to state that we're moving this to this date. You're still going to have this many hours of coverage. If I am unavailable, that's when I say, if you still want this date, then that's perfectly fine. Your wedding will be covered by my second company. You still booked for the same rate. You're still going to get it edited by me. The only difference is I won't be able to be there. And they completely understand that. They understand that, having to move the date. But for the most part, they make sure their planner is available, the venue, and me. And then everything else they work around.
Okay. I was so curious about that. I just was like, wow, like how does this impact all of the vendors? Like how do you choose which one? I mean, I know how you choose. You pick your venue, your planner, and your photographer, but some brides are in situations where they're having to literally choose, like, well, the venue is not available, but my photographer is available, or vice versa. So it's a really tough situation to kind of be in.
And then making sure I stay in contact with my clients as well during this crisis time, because I want them to understand that there are so many businesses going under. There's so many people who, once this is over with, there's photographers who are going to, sell all of their equipment in order to get by. We've already seen the post on, or at least I have on Facebook, where, places like Adorama they're advertising like, hey, if you send us your camera, we'll send you this much. We know what's going on. You're pretty much planning for us to fail. And some people will have to sell their cameras and all of their equipment in order to make it to the next stage. And I want to make sure I reassure them and let them know, like, LaJoy photography is solid. We're good to go. The first look photography is solid. Checking in on my other shooters to make sure that their camera equipment is still going to be secure at the end of this. Seeing if I'm going to need to rent equipment for them. Just, making sure that everything is okay, making sure that everything is going to flow very naturally after everything is over is a huge deal to them. Because when you go ghost on your client for, the 3 weeks that we've been in quarantine so far, 4 weeks, they're not sure if you're still in business.
Right.
And you be able to reassure them that you're okay. And that's why I try to keep a presence online, making sure that I'm on my Instagram, making sure I'm emailing, making sure I'm doing different things to reassure them that my business is okay. Your payments are secure. We're still moving forward. I will be there.
Right. And let's dig a little bit into the maintaining the client expectation during this time, because, that is a part of your client experience. And, again, we've never been through a crisis before where you really had to show up a whole lot more just to reassure your clients. But what are some ways that you've been maintaining your client experience through this, to make sure that, one, it's not so stressful for your clients, even though it is, but two, just to reassure them that you're there to support them during this time?
Well, I normally get on Instagram and I do a live or I do stories and, let them see what's going on, talk to them about the COVID-19 crisis that's going on right now. And I pretty much, I want to show my face. I want to show what I'm doing with my family. I want to be able to make sure I'm updating the website. I'm updating and I'm posting consistently to my Instagram feed, because the moment that it's been 10 days and you haven't made a post, they're automatically thinking, oh my gosh, she's either She's got it. She's closed business and she's going to completely just dip out on us. I can understand where their mind goes and they get really scared and frustrated. So keeping your online social media presence, majority of my clients found me on Instagram. So making sure that I'm on there, posting to my Facebook page, sending text messages if that's the way that we communicate with each other, and emails so that I reassure them like, hey, just checking in, making sure you were okay. I know your date's coming up in, 3 months. Let me know if you need anything, if you need to switch dates, and just continuing that open line of communication.
And that's so good that you shared that, because a lot of times photographers, we tend to, or creative entrepreneurs, just business owners, period, we tend to retreat when things get overwhelming, or when we're going through, we retreat. And that's where our clients, they follow us online just to make sure, hey, they're still doing work or they're still doing this. But in a crisis, you're not producing any work. But I believe that this is an awesome opportunity to be able to get caught up on editing, show some past sessions, things of that nature, so clients can see themselves still in your work, still get excited about working with you when this is all over, because you need a distraction and they need a distraction. So I think that's a great idea to keep your online presence consistent during this time.
Yeah, and being able to show them that, things are going to be okay at the end of this. And once it's all over, we're going to be able to move past, the crisis, and we're going to go right back into business as usual, life as usual. Also, you have to understand that there are other vendors who are doing this, who are reaching out to your clients. So the planner, the makeup artist, they're still online. They're still doing what they need to do. You're the one vendor that sticks out to them that's like, she hasn't been online in 10 days. I'm nervous. I'm scared. And then you get a cancel, you get that email saying that they want to cancel services with you because they feel like you're not in it. You're not committed. They don't know if they can trust that you're still going to be there at the end of this.
Right. And especially because, like you said, most of your clients find you on Instagram. They find you online. So that's their connection to you. So they need to know that you are, and I imagine, is that tough having to not show up all the time, but to be online all the time and making sure you're engaging your clients? Or what are some ways that you do it without overwhelming yourself? Are you like on a schedule, or how does that work?
I actually, I kind of post based on how I feel. I don't really have a schedule or anything like that. I just pretty much look at things like I'm feeling really happy today. I want to post something for a wedding. I do try and, during my little 9 block, I say, I'm going to post 3 wedding photos, 2 photos of myself, and then 3 branding photos and a quote within that 9 block. And I try and keep to that so that I'm, bouncing around a little bit. My clients aren't getting bored just looking at couples that like the branding shoots. The branding or the wedding clients aren't getting bored looking at the branding shoots. And I'm just keeping that Instagram 9 block flow going, as well as getting it to the point where I'm showing personality. A couple days ago, or I want to probably like a week and a half ago, I'm losing track of time.
Listen, let's talk about that for a second. Don't lose your thought. But I promise you, yesterday, no, is it today? Today, I thought it was April 1st. And not for nothing, because I don't know. I was looking at the calendar. I was looking for something. And I was like, why is it not on the calendar? And I was like, I'm looking at the wrong date. I done lost track of time.
Yeah. And I think that's what I've been doing too. But like a week ago, I posted something. My quotes never really get like a ton of likes, but this one was just a simple, like a please pray. And it was talking about how I felt about how many different cases we have and what's going on. And, how life is going to be different when we get out of this, and hopefully, people making changes in good ways. And a lot of people were really, attracted to that post and moved by it, and I was just being myself. So things like that, I believe, are very important. Being able to show a different side of yourself that's not just business, and opening up to your clients.
I totally agree. And, now that you bring up your post, I think that it was so impactful. And I don't know if you have access to it now or if you remember a little bit about the post, but if you would mind just sharing some of it to really provide some encouragement to other photographers who are really going through it this season. I thought that it was very on time.
Well, I said, I don't think I've ever felt like this before. I started watching the numbers when the US was standing at 45,000 confirmed cases. Now we're at 189,543. And since then, we've almost doubled, I believe.
Yeah, yep.
It said that I'm terrified. I don't want anything to happen to my loved ones, and I want to be around for my children a very long time. All I can do is pray and sit here at 6 a.m., finally closing my eyes for the night. I was going to bed like 6 o'clock in the morning because I was up all night watching my kids sleep. It says, please pray before bed, when you wake up, when you get bored, and when you think about the people you love. Just pray. And that was, I'm a whole lot better now. But when this all started, I was in a place where I was scared. I was staying up all night because the first thing my mind went to is people are going to start breaking into homes. People are going to start looking for money and the resources that they need because people were panicking and buying toilet paper like crazy. And I was just like, I don't know who knows anything about my home and, where I live or anything like that, but I'm always online. I had a class called the 6-Figure Hustle. I don't want anybody coming in here thinking I got cash.
Yes.
All my money's in the bank. But I was so scared and I was staying up all night because I was terrified. I was terrified to leave my house. The kids haven't left since school let out. They haven't gone outside to play. Like the most sunlight you're going to get is through this window.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like, it was really scary. And now I think I'm to the point where I'm feeling a little bit better. I know that things are getting worse, but I'm not as anxious. I'm not feeling as if, the walls are closing in on me and everything is just falling apart. So.
Yeah. And so how are you doing now since then, as far as how are you really maintaining not being in that place you were in when you made that post?
Well, right now I'm still staying up super late, but that's just because time is off. I'm going to bed around like 2 or 3 a.m., watching TV a whole lot more than I normally would. I'm trying to busy myself because I got all of my editing done pretty quickly. Yeah. I'm planning new things for business. I'm making changes, but mentally and emotionally, I'm okay. I go out once a week and go shopping. I try and get little things for the kids, come home, sanitize it, just to, brighten their spirits a little bit. Like recently, they all just got blue light glasses because they've been staring at screens for weeks and weeks. So I'm like, wear these whenever you're in the house. Anything that can help. And really just focusing on being here with my family, spending time with them. We do movie night. We do times where I'm hanging out with the smallest and my oldest is in there playing video games. Sometimes I notice that at different times they're starting to feel the craziness of being stuck in the house for so long. Yeah. So then that's when I did the movie night with my oldest son. We watched scary movies all night. And then he perked up the very next day and he's like, oh, okay, so it's not that bad. Because there's only so much Fortnite you can play.
Right.
And then my two youngest, they're okay with just like, sitting on the couch with me, cuddling, eating, snacks. I'm making sure that when I do go to the store, I'm not just buying the necessities. I'm also getting like yeah, I don't know, ice cream and cookies. I've bought more cookies and I've seen more cookies in my house than I've ever seen before. So just keeping them happy, keeping their spirits up, and just making sure that everything is good there. And then that quality time with my boyfriend, making sure that our relationship stays intact. And then that separate time. So
Yes.
not being up under each other, but some days where I'm in my room, he has the living room, the kids are in their separate rooms, and everybody's away from each other so that we're not always driving each other crazy.
Right, exactly. No, that's fair. That makes a lot of sense. Thanks for sharing that because that's super helpful. Because being in the house for long periods of time, I don't know about you, but I'm an introvert and I'm a homebody and I love being at home, but so much I can be at home before I really need to be outside. So no,
I am too. And I've realized that I didn't realize how much I miss just being in the car driving,
yes,
listening to music. Like I don't have to be with anyone, but just to be in the car on my way to Publix, to be able to roll the windows down and turn up the music and just drive. It makes me so happy now.
yes, exactly. And I'm like, some days I really want to open up my windows and my patio door, but then I close it right back because I'm like, wait, I don't know if it's safe for me to do that. And, you know, and I say, forget it, I'm just gonna go on the deck anyway and enjoy this fresh breeze and this sun and leave it in God's hands. But I just don't know how much more longer
Yeah.
that I can be an introvert right now. So,
And then
but
things
yeah,
like this, like in communicating with people with all of this technology that we have. Now, if
right,
the internet crashes, I think we all gonna have a problem. But
right.
being able to talk to each other remotely, and I'm always FaceTiming my brother. Um, I'm doing a lot of FaceTimes with friends, checking on them. And when I do go live on Instagram, I always ask another person in either the wedding industry or a friend, like, hey, I had a friend, she writes relationship books. And I went live with her, and me and her kind of just had like a conversation about relationships, but it was also very much geared towards her business.
Right.
And that was a nice break. And then I did a live interview with an event planning company down here in Atlanta, and they're super sweet. We were right before this happened, we were supposed to go sit down and have lunch. So it was kind of like,
Yeah.
getting that human interaction without actually being with someone.
Right, exactly. And so one thing I was thinking is, what would you do differently in your business moving forward after experiencing this crisis?
As far as business, I think I would have probably upped my percentage as far as what I was saving. And that's probably the only thing that I would have done. I know that they have a lot of programs out here now that are geared towards helping small business owners and people who are underemployed or unemployed altogether. And that's great. But you always have to kind of, wait for the other shoe to drop, because they offer us a lot of things, and the last thing I want to do is have to repay a small business loan. So for me, I'm trying to make it on what I have, and pretty much I'm trying as hard as I can not to have to use other resources. Now, if we go even more months and more of my clients decide, or all of my clients say they can't make their payments, then of course I will need to lean on someone else and lean on our government. But as of right now, people are in worse situations than I am. Right now, I'm okay. So I want to make sure I'm not taking funds that other people need. If
Right.
that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. And I wanted to add a good resource to what you were just saying about saving a larger percentage. There's a book called Profit First. I don't know if you ever heard of it or read it.
I haven't.
But it's an amazing book, Profit First. I can't think of the author right now, but if you just put it in Amazon, that is a book all entrepreneurs should read because it helps you really when you are working with clients and you're receiving payments and things like that, they really have some really sound strategies in the book that help you to be able to save and to be able to separate your funds, like have multiple accounts, and you have like accounts receivable, you know, you have your taxes and you have your income and all of these things like that. So you break it down. So then that way, when things come up, you have your profit. So we call it profit first, but you have your profit and you're not just working to work to put the money back in your business, but you actually see a profit in your business. And so I encourage those who have not read Profit First to definitely check it out. And if you have read it, read it again. I think now is the perfect time to revisit it and to implement some of those strategies in our business, especially when it comes to really profiting in our business the way that we should be. So
yeah.
Thank you for sharing that insight as far as what you would do differently. Would you say that you've faced any challenges or setbacks because of the crisis? Or do you feel like it's something that has really challenged you to figure out ways to make multiple streams of income?
I have experienced some challenges, and I know everyone is like, hey, you do need multiple streams of income. So that's what I was doing with the first look photography. However, they're both one and the same.
Right.
So now this pushes me to get on finding what my third business will be, because I've been thinking about it all year. Like, what else could I do? What can I open? What can I start to sell? Or what type of company, you know, what can I invest in order to generate more income for myself? And photography is not going to be anywhere near that list, because I'm running into the same problem with both companies. And I understand now that I need something that has absolutely nothing to do with the creative side of things.
Right.
The stream of income that is a necessity for people, so that way I'm bringing in money no matter what.
Yep.
And that was the biggest thing that I ran into, as far as, like an aha moment, I guess. Now, as far as setbacks go, I was supposed to move this month. I am still moving this month. It's just a whole lot scarier, because now I don't want movers here. So I have to get a U-Haul.
Yeah.
I have to finally let my children leave this house and move to the new house. So I have this whole game plan of how I'm going to go, and I'm going to clean, disinfect the entire house. Then I'm going to come back, and the next morning, let that air out. And then the next morning, come back, set one bedroom up for the kids and lock them in there until I get all the rest of the stuff moved in and disinfected, so that they can move around their new house.
Right, exactly.
And it's like, you take everything for granted until you can't do it anymore. So now it's like walking into a grocery store, being outside and not having a mask on. I watch people walk their dogs, and I see them, walk past our windows, and same little boy walks his dog every day. He's wearing a mask now when he goes to walk his dog. And I was in Target, and there was a lady walking around, and she's like touching the earrings, and she's holding them up to her. And I'm thinking to myself, that's not something we can do anymore. If you're not going to buy it, don't touch it. And that's kind of where we are. And it's scary, because I don't know if we'll ever get back to the point where, we can pick up the shirt, hold it up to us, and not feel like I got something on me now.
Right, exactly. I mean, things are going to change. Things are going to change. I don't think that we'll be able to do those things anymore. Not without the level of knowledge that we have right now.
Yep.
We're always going to be very cautious about what we're touching. If we're cross-contaminating something, wiping down your car before you get in it, wiping it, taking off your gloves if you touch something, like washing our hands, like things we should have already been doing. Now we're more conscious of, we have to do it because these are the consequences if I don't. So, yeah, no, I totally agree.
A lot of people, like, if you're in the mall, let's say, you stop and you get a pretzel or a cookie, you're eating that pretzel or that cookie, and you haven't gone and washed your hands, you haven't used any hand sanitizer or anything because you were just walking around the mall, but you were also in, whatever, you were in Macy's and you were touching things in Macy's, and all of those germs are now on you. And now you're eating this pretzel and the germs are on this pretzel that you're holding. So that last bite is completely contaminated. And just thinking of things like that, you're going to operate a whole lot different. I am the queen, or was the queen of takeout. I don't go in the kitchen and cook, but I sure will go and pick up the phone and order something. I'll order Longhorn and go pick it up. That's me. If I'm doing dinner that night, my boyfriend can already understand that there will be food ordered. But when he's in charge of dinner for the night, he goes in and he cooks. And now for us to we have not had takeout in almost a month and a half. That's killing me.
Listen, I can relate on so many levels to this because I am tired of washing dishes. I'm tired of cooking.
Yes.
And I need new leggings. I need some new leggings. I'm running out of
another thing, not buying any new clothes. And if you do, they got to go straight into the washer. I used to be real big on, I'm out and I'm like, oh, I don't really like this shirt that I have on for whatever event I'm at or whatever. Run to the store real quick, buy something, throw it on, and then I have this new. But can't do none of that stuff no more. Everything changes. Life as a whole will be completely different.
Completely different. And as we wrap up, I want to know if you want to just leave some words of encouragement for other photographers who, like yourself, are impacted by COVID-19 and just really just words of encouragement to help those and all of us really to some ways we can just maintain our business and just look ahead as opposed to feeling defeated.
Well, I understand that everyone's situation is different. My camera is my baby. And if you're a photographer in the industry, your camera is your baby. It is your moneymaker. It is everything. It is the way that you operate and run your company at any moment's notice. If you have to sell it, I completely understand if you have to make that decision. But honestly, I would sell every piece of electronic in this house before I sell that camera. Because when this is over, that camera helps me buy all of that back, where those things are not generating income for me. So I would say that make sure you're thinking about what things in your home generate income and what things don't. If you have to make that decision and it gets to that point, make sure you're keeping your business afloat in that way. Make sure that you are continuously investing in your company and understanding that if you have extra things, some of us have like 30 lenses that we don't use, get rid of some of that stuff that you're not using and, help there before you start doing loans and things like that. But your camera is your money maker. It provides everything that you own. So I would say keep yourself afloat that way. Communicate with your clients, making sure that you're just keeping a positive outlook on everything. Don't retreat, because a lot of us are introverts and it does take a lot for us to, get online, but try and stay online, try to stay active in the groups, reach out to other photographers that make sure they're doing okay so we can all check up on each other. And, I've seen you're doing like, I think you were on with Mecca. She posted, I think they had like
they had a surprise party for me for my birthday.
Yeah. And I was like, that was really cool. Like to be able to do
a surprise party on Zoom virtually, not in person.
So that was really cool. And I thought it was like, that is so cool. Like the group of you ladies doing that for each other. That is so nice. So things like that, making sure we're continuously uplifting each other and being positive and just praying and getting us to the point where we're going to come out of this and everybody should be okay.
Yep, we're going to come out on the other side of this a whole lot stronger than we are now. I appreciate your time today and
Thank
getting to know you and really learning about how you're maintaining amidst the crisis. I'm really glad to hear that, you know, you are maintaining your business and you are finding ways to constantly communicate with your clients. Um, you know, preparing your finances for all of this, and not just this, but just for a stronger business period. So thank you for sharing all of those tips with us. I do want to highlight, or I do want to ask you a question, because I cannot leave this interview because I know that I'm going to get some messages from people about this, about you being a photographer for Netflix. Love is Blind. So I would get in a lot of trouble if I don't ask about this and your experience with being a photographer for Netflix. So
I completely forgot about that. I I absolutely loved it. I've done other TV shows, but this one, I think my very first one and this one was the best. I was able to connect with the people that were actually there. The Netflix crew was amazing. The company who actually hired me, the producers, they were all amazing. And come to find out, I got there and I seen like 3 producers that I'd known from the first show. And they're like, "Hey, LaJoy." And I was like, "Hey." And it's like, "You're here because, we had a meeting and you were the first person that came to our mind." So I'm like, that was really cool. The couples were really nice. I did 4 out of the 5 weddings.
okay.
Um, then come to find out, Lauren was at an engagement session that I shot, and I recognized her, but I didn't know who she was, because whenever I do the shows, I don't get attached to them because I don't get to spend time with them like I would a regular wedding. So I showed up at the engagement session and I saw her and I was like, "You look really familiar." And she's like, "You do too." And then she was like, "Oh my God, you shot my wedding." And I was like, "Honey, I must really be losing my mind because I don't remember shooting your wedding." And then she was like, "No, for the TV show." And I was like, "That's why I don't know your name, because I never knew what it was on the show." She was the videographer for the engagement session I was at.
What?
So that's how we reconnected. And I spoke to her there. She became one of my brand ambassadors. And then when I found out, her and Cameron were still together, we went on ahead and set up a second photo shoot.
Oh, that's so cool.
So
I
yeah,
was like, oh my God, like I still have not seen the show, but
it's really good.
I still have not seen the show, but by watching your Instagram stories I'm just like, wow, this is so cool. Like, oh my God, this is amazing. So it's been everything. And I've seen you collaborate with one of my favorite Brandon Boos, Chloe.
Yeah.
So I just was like, oh, this collaboration is everything. So I'm just so excited for you, and keep doing what you're doing. You're inspiring so many photographers. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, we can't go without you telling us about your Let's Chat sessions,
Okay.
because you don't know that I'm going to do this, but I am going to give someone who's listening a session with you.
Oh, that's cool.
So I want to be able to support your business. I don't know how, but I figured that that's a way that I can help support.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Oh, don't cry. I know this time is so crazy. I know it is.
But if you can tell us a little bit more about your sessions, I'm going to give someone with some time with you.
Okay. Well, the Let's Chat session is $35. I put it on sale because of all this craziness. It's a 30-minute video chat that will allow people to write down your questions beforehand, email them to me after purchasing your session, and then I'm going to literally sit down, go through all these questions, and I'm going to rattle off those answers to you, and you record and you re-listen and do, whatever. And we squeeze all the information we can into this 30 minutes. And, if I go over a little bit, because I do talk a little bit, then I do. But try and get all the questions that they might have, the most burning questions, and take your time finding out what those things are, so that way we can get as many photographers where they need to be business, editing, shooting, posing. Like since it's a video chat, I can actually show you some different things and, work on settings, whatever they would like to do.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to give 3 photographers some time with LaJoy, and I'll figure out the best way to do it. I'll probably do a raffle and raffle 3 sessions with you. And then if you guys are able to definitely support LaJoy during this time. I know that a lot of us are all figuring out ways to stay afloat in business, but any way that I can use this platform to support photographers during this time, I definitely want to take that opportunity to do so. So thank you so much. And tell us how we can find you and stay connected to you online.
Well, I would say go directly to my Instagram page. So my Instagram is at LaJoy Photography LLC. And my second company is at the First Look Photography or at the First Look Photography. And both of those will get you directly to me, following my work. The link in the bio has everything from my YouTube page to my website to my Facebook and my Pinterest. Everything is in there. So just make sure you're following me there. Website has all my information, and there's a For Photographers tab on the website.
Okay. I don't know why I'm so emotional right now.
I know it's a crazy time, and I was the same way. I was the exact same way. Are you at home by yourself? That's it. That's exactly what it is. And that's why I was saying, like, staying in contact with people, because being at home and being in closed areas, people don't understand how much sunlight actually does for us. The people who live in Alaska experiences 30 days of darkness.
Right.
During that 30-day period, they have a lot of like depression and things like that come up. So being in the house for so long and not being outside, not seeing other people, even though you are naturally an introvert, you still have to be able to communicate with others and get out. So I would say, when you have to do your shopping and things like that, being able to spend a little time outside when you get home on the patio and just being out there just for a little bit
is necessary. It's necessary. I can't even imagine what other photographers are going through.
Yeah. And there's so many people that I know, like Chloe, she's at home by herself. I have another friend, she's at home by herself, and I check on them and I tell them, like, hey, if you need to call me. Me and my boyfriend are in this house together, but he's doing his thing. We get up every morning. He checks on his mom, his sister, his brother. He does his rounds. I do my rounds. I check on my friends. He checks on his friends. So, no, I don't want anybody to think that we're just, curled up on the couch together. No, you guys aren't interrupting any time or anything like that. I actually like being on Instagram because that is my way of checking in on all my photography friends that way.
Right. And I encourage any creative who's listening, make sure that you're staying connected, that you don't feel like that you are alone during this, that you are by yourself or anything. Reach out. You can feel free to reach out to me if you need prayer or just want to talk for a second. Reach out to your community. This is a great time for you all to be cultivating community and reaching out and connecting with people that you've been wanting to talk to. And, you have the time now. And I will speak to about you had the time because this bothers me now. At first I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to have so much time, but I don't have the time that I thought I was going to have.
Yeah.
So there's not all this extra time, but what I'm saying is carve out time, make time, because it's important more now than ever that community is going to be so valuable. It's going to be able to help you get through this next season that we're facing together.
Yep. And with every single day, I reach out to somebody different and I say, hey, you want to go live on Instagram, so that way it's not just us talking, but it's other people that we know commenting and, we're laughing about something. And it just feels good to be able to do that and not feel so secluded and so closed off from everybody.
No, I totally agree. Thanks again. I know I tried to wrap up this show like 3 or 4 times, but I mean, at this time, Thank you so much for coming to chat with me, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon.
Thank you for having me. And you can also reach out if you need to. You give me a call, whatever, anytime. I'm up. I'm usually up to about 3 a.m. Okay.
Thank you for listening to the Purpose to Create podcast. Share, like, comment, or review this episode. Check out the show notes at www.purposetocreatepodcast.com and connect with us online at Purpose to Create.